Excellent.
All right. Well, we're gonna get started. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. I know everybody's really busy this time of year, and we want to be super respectful of the time that you're giving us and make sure this is time well spent. And you're going to get a lot of value out of this. It's not going to be a sales pitch that you're going to walk away with a ton of tools that you can implement in your business right away. So I'm excited about it. My name is Alice Faggi, and I am the head of marketing here at RealScout. And I am honored to be joined by our panel today. So we have Chase Whitney. He's a top producing team leader here in Southern California, a longtime user of RealScout, very familiar face too in this crowd. And we also have Rick Bannon, another top producing team leader from Florida and also a combat veteran. So I'm really honored to have him here. Thank you for your service and all your stories. They're always great. And last but not least, we have Hassan Riggs. He is the CEO of Smart Alto. And our collaboration here came as a result of this groundswell of positive feedback that we saw specifically in the Follow Up Boss community of people saying, hey, I'm using RealScout and I just met with Hassan and I'm using Smart Alto and this is incredible. And it's because of those results that we're like, hey, let's put something together. So super excited to have this finally happening. Real quick, for those of you who aren't familiar with RealScout, we are middle of the funnel marketing tool that focuses on nurturing and converting your database with MLS grade listing data. So we are mirroring your listing service. We are not taking an aggregate of some of that data. It's MLS grade data. And we're not a lead generation. We're not a CRM tool. We do one thing and we do it really well. And that's provide an agent-based branded search platform with automatically generated listing alerts, home valuations, and market updates that's all designed to nurture and convert your database at a higher rate. And Andrew, our founder, who likes to say it's BYOL, which I love, bring your own lead. And that is why pairing with Smart Alto works magically, really, because the better lead data you have in RealScout, the better RealScout works. So with that, Hassan, I'm going to pass the mic to you and Chase and Rick. And I'm going to go hide in the comments and you guys can kind of get from here.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. My name is Hassan Riggs. I'm so excited to be here. I'm like grabbing the bull by his horns, taking a day on, all of that stuff. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right here because we're going to talk about how to turn your database of leads, buyer leads, into new listing conversations. As we talked about, my name is Hassan Riggs. You're going to meet Rick and Chase here in a little bit, right? I am the founder and CEO at Smart Alto. We're funded by Google. We're funded by the National Association of Realtors. And I say that not to impress you, but just to impress upon you that you're in good hands. You're in the right place because today we're going to talk about how to turn your old buyer leads into new listing conversations. We're going to give you a SmartScout Smart List to help you pinpoint bellers. That's buyers with a home to sell. We're going to talk about why good data drives growth, what and how to get it, and then how to use that data to accelerate your listing-based business. And then you're going to be able to rip off and duplicate some proven tactics from leaders. I'm talking about things you can really bite into that's going to help you grow your business. And we're going to give you ready-to-send email campaigns and trifolds, some that get a 15% response rate. But first, we're going to talk about SmartScout and how it works. 3 steps in 3 minutes. Step 1. You see, SmartScout combines the power of Smart Alto and RealScout to turn dead buyer leads into new listing conversations. You can find sellers in your existing buyer database using only a mobile phone number. Let me say that differently. You can find bellers. That's buyers with a home to sell. And you can get those buyers from anywhere. You can get them online, open houses, networking, yard signs, referrals. You can quite literally get them anywhere. All you need is a mobile phone number. That's it, just a mobile phone number. And then with that mobile phone number, Smart Alto will return to you the seller's name, email, property characteristics, mortgage details, home value, age, the seller's property address. And then it sends that property address into RealScout so you can do step 2. And that's use the nurture your sellers with RealScout's seller tools. You see, the sellers with a property address get auto emailed a home value alert. And those home value alerts, they get opened, read, viewed, analyzed, clicked, responded to, and ultimately help you start more listing conversations, listing appointments, and get listings. Because RealScout tracks their behavior, everything that they do. And all that data is sent back to Follow Up Boss so you can take step 3. And that's create a SmartScout Smart List. A SmartScout Smart List is the only list that finds active sellers most likely to sell before they buy. It's the only list that combines demographic data, property data, and behavioral data to pinpoint Gen Z, Gen X, millennials, and senior downsizers with homes, phones, and emails who are visiting your website, saving properties, viewing home value alerts, tracking market activity, starting conversations, and ultimately looking to list. It's the only list that finds the most active buyers in your existing database most likely to sell their home. So let me say that differently. The SmartScout Smart List creates focus. It gives you sellers to focus on, sellers to call, to send home value alerts to email, to door knock, to mail letters, to voicemail drop, to prospect, to text, to nurture, to build relationships with, to befriend, to support, and to list, because that's ultimately what it's about. And that's why you focus on the SmartScout Smart List. And one of the reasons you're going to get that today. So let's tie everything together with an example, okay? So you're promoting a listing and buyers click on your online ad. You capture their name, email, and phone number in Follow Up Boss. But that's all you've got, their contact details. That phone number automatically syncs into Smart Alto. And Smart Alto uses AI and tells you if that buyer has a home to sell. And that his name is John. He's 62 years old. He lives at 123 Main Street. That's a 2-story house that he's owned for 9 years. It's worth $623,000 and has a 4.5% mortgage rate. And then we send that property address to RealScout, and RealScout auto emails a home value alert. And that auto gets opened, it gets viewed, it gets clicked, it gets that demographic data, that behavioral data, that property data. It gets all sent back to Follow Up Boss. And John falls into the SmartScout Smart List. And it all happens automatically without you lifting a finger, right? Now take a moment to think about how important that is. What percentage of buyers in your existing database have a home? How fast would your business grow if you found 100, 500, or 5,000 new potential sellers in your buyer database? How would your business change if you could double your listing inventory in the next 6 months? What advantage would you have over other agents if you could identify sellers before they hit the market? The smart money has always said that buyers have homes to sell. You've heard Tom say it, Jimmy say it, heard Dan say it. Even the National Association of Realtors has told us that 58% of buyers have homes to sell. And now for the first time ever, SmartScout can prove you have sellers in your existing buyer database. You can find sellers in your existing buyer database and nurture them with SmartScout. Now that's what SmartScout does to kind of level set. And now we're going to talk about some practical strategies that you can use in your business, and specifically how Jose and Jeff quite literally found 3,600 new potential sellers from their existing buyer leads using SmartScout. How Stacy, I think Stacy is in the audience. What's up, Stacy? What's up, girl? How Stacy found 1,100 new potential sellers from her existing buyer leads using SmartScout. And Rick, the combat veteran, who you're going to meet in a second, found 450 new potential sellers from existing buyer leads using SmartScout. And we're going to do that within the context of lessons. Why good data drives growth and how to get it manually or automatically using SmartScout. How to accelerate your listing-based business by pinpointing likely sellers with new data points in the SmartScout Smart List. and then how to rip off and duplicate proven tactics that listing agents are using right now today to start listing conversations and demonstrate value from day one. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to deliver on our promise. We told you that you're going to get some goodies today. And one of the very first goodies that you're going to get is this Canva ready to edit listing presentation. This is a professionally designed listing presentation that we're going to give to you just because you're here, just because you registered. It's completely free. It costs $1,200 to produce. It's not something that we went to Fiverr and got somebody to produce for the cheap. It's actually extremely valuable, but that's not the only thing that you're going to get today. You're also going to get a listing presentation template and trifold. And Sheila, I also believe, is here today. What's up, Sheila? Sheila actually gave us a trifold to give you. That trifold gets a 15% response rate. It's Canva ready to edit. All you have to do is use it, change out the pictures, change the text a little bit, and send that trifold. You don't even need a stamp. We're going to give you 25 sellers in your existing buyer database. We're going to find those for you. That's a $500 value. Give you ready to send emails, a SmartScout Smart List, and 2 handwritten letters that Chase is going to talk about in a second. All you got to do is scan that QR code. There is no gate. You don't need to put your email address in. Just scan it, and you're going to get it in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lesson 1. Why good data drives growth and how to get it. Okay, so we're going to talk about why good data drives growth and ROI. Share 2 little known secrets that spark listing conversations. You absolutely need this in every single one of your communications with potential sellers. And then the 18 data points that you must have for every single seller. We want to give those to you, and then how to use those data points in your marketing and ultimately what that means. You see, good data helps you send the right message to the right person at the right time. That way, you can have more quality conversations with qualified prospects and get more listing opportunities, listing appointments, and listings sold. Because your messages are more relevant and personal. Because your messages are more relevant and personal. Because your messages are more relevant and personal, your emails get delivered. They get opened, they get read, they get clicked. Your calls last longer. They become more strategic. They become more valuable. Your response rates are better. Your cost is lower. Your ROI is higher. You can do more with less. You can do more with less money, less time, less people, less effort, less sacrifice, less work. And the best part, you only need 18 data points to provide value to clients from day one. And you don't need all of these data points every single time. But the more context that you have on who you're talking to or who you want to reach out to, the more value you will be able to provide from day one. Snap a picture, because here are the 18 data points that you need. And we're going to share with you some strategies on how you can use these data points in your business today to start listing conversations and ultimately get results. Because you can use these data points not only to find who you want to target, but also in the emails, in the text messages, information is sent to RealScout, back to follow-up boss, and ultimately in the SmartScout Smart List. Now, those 18 data points help you send the right message to the right person at the right time. They give you the superpowers to market in ways that is quite literally impossible for other agents. Because you're not just a realtor. You're a marketer who sells real estate. Now, here's some examples of what you can do with that good data. You can email single-story homes to seniors living in 2-story homes that have stairs.
Hey, Hassan, I want to, I've been waiting to jump in. I want to make sure that you reiterate that all of this stuff is being done without touching a single thing, right? The one thing you've said on previous webinars that we've been on together that I really, really like is you're the only tech entrepreneur that says, don't log into my tech. I think it's a really, really powerful statement, because a lot of agents on this call and others, I'm sure, have looked at websites like True People Search, and they've done manual skip tracing, and they've found pieces of data that takes time, or you have a VA do it. It costs money as well. So all of which we've shared so far, you've shared so far, is all done automatically within 10 minutes. So I want you to really hit on that again, because that we went so fast through that, which is great, but that's really, really important.
Everything that Chase said is absolutely correct. Everything that happens, it happens automatically without you touching anything. And in the very next section, when Chase takes over and talks about the SmartScout Smart List, one of the things that he'll show is how that data flows into Follow Up Boss automatically into those smart lists, that RealScout, that SmartScout Smart List that we've created for you. And it's going to flow right there directly into it. Every email can use that data, and every email can automatically be populated with that data without you doing any work. You can call millennials with high property values who view the home value alert and frequent your website. This would be impossible for you to do without the proper data. You can text Gen Z who owns small condos and are going to your RealScout website, saving properties on the site. So the bottom line is good data drives growth. It makes your emails better, your calls better, your direct mail better. It makes your text better. It ultimately makes your marketing better. So you can have more quality conversations with qualified prospects and turn buyer leads into new listing conversations. And that's where Chase comes in, talking about that middle of the funnel and how you can accelerate your listing-based business by pinpointing likely sellers with new data points. So I'm gonna stop, Chase, and you can take over.
Awesome. Well, that's a lot of information. And I do want to make sure that we hit that chat real quick. I think Alice was talking to you about the presentation as well, because I know we zipped over that pretty quick. But Alice, all good there?
Yeah, we're good. If you want to talk about how this will work without Follow Up Boss too, if people don't have Follow Up Boss, because I know we are talking a lot about the smart lists and how this integration makes it really easy, but I also want to acknowledge that not everybody uses Follow Up Boss. So how can they still benefit from this?
Okay. Hassan, is that you or me?
Go ahead, Chase. Go ahead, because your session.
So yeah, I mean, the integration can work. There are some manual levers you're going to have to pull. And that's one of the benefits of why Follow Boss is so powerful, is they have a very open integration platform, and they welcome and encourage platforms to work within their system. That being said, you can export a CSV from your existing database, KV Core, Lofty, whatever it might be, import it into Smart Alto, and maybe this becomes a once a week, maybe it's a once a month SOP that you create for your team. And then you can then take the data from Smart Alto, re-export it, and then bring it back in. So there are definitely ways to do it. Again, Follow Up Boss makes this completely seamless and literally without lifting a finger, like we've said a few times. That's the long and short of it. Hassan, any further thoughts there?
No, you did great.
All good. Okay. Cool. Then yeah, I mean, what I'm going to talk about really is just kind of crystallizing the flow, because that's kind of what I think might get lost on some of this. But the one thing is it does it. What I like about Smart Alto so much, aside from the data, is that it's truly lead source agnostic, right? Street text, PPC, Ylopo, open house, neighbor, grocery store, walking your dog, whatever it is, as long as they hit Follow Up Boss. And in my instance, I use a tag, and all of my action plans automatically put the tag on there. That's the one lift you're going to have to do, is create your tag you want to send to Smart Alto. Essentially, and let me just share my screen. It might be easier to walk this through here. And I'm going to be looking to my right now, so apologize for that. But for example, all that has to happen is the person has to get this tag added in my instance. So Smart Alto will read this lead and take their information in as soon as that tag is added, or within 5 or 10 minutes, I believe is the flow there. So that's the entire setup process, and that's done. So now every source that we use for our leads comes in with that tag in there. And then again, within 30 minutes, I forget the exact time frame here, it's pushed back with all of the relevant information that Hassan's mentioning. And they're all pushed into the custom fields, which, by the way, is one more plug for Follow Up Boss, in that we have all the data inside Follow Up Boss without having to chase it in a separate system, which, again, the comment about not logging into his tech is pretty powerful because you want it all here. Now, again, I can jump in, and there are, Hassan, 85 data points. We bring in 12 or 13 total.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a ton more.
Well,
But we kind of put these together because they're the most actionable, contextualized pieces of data that we could have. So now I know that Sylvia, and this is in my flow now. So I know that Sylvia came in on an ad for larger homes in North Orange County. That's the only context that I have for her. So previously, I would create a search for 3-bedroom and larger houses, 2-story, Cypress, Anaheim, Buena Park, Long Beach, not Long Beach, but kind of our market area. And that's kind of the initial flow until we get a hold of her. But now I know that she's 58 years old. She owns this house here that I blurred for privacy, but it's close. Owns a house. She's not a renter. The 4-bed house, it's 2,200 square feet, worth probably 1.2, 1.3, right? And again, 2-story with a low mortgage rate. So she's looking for either a bigger house than this, or perhaps maybe a larger ranch style home, a larger single story. So now I just have more context for what to send to her. Knowing that she already lives in a house that's 2,200 square feet, I'm going to probably go minimum 4 bedrooms and 2,400 square feet and bigger, and forego the price, because I'm going to assume that she's going to be qualified to a bit higher than that based on the equity that she's gained in that house. So now that's just the data that Hassan went over kind of, very, very clearly. But now inside RealScout, since we have this address in here, and I click on that, it's going to show our address, but RealScout picks up that address within 2 seconds. And then I believe noon is the cutoff, but again, they're going to get that home value alert same day or first thing the next morning. And then again, as we know, since everything is tracked, I've got this smart list here that is what we're talking about. I've got demographic ones we can talk about. This one is just open house and Facebook. I want top funnel, Facebook specifically, super top funnel buyer leads that own a house, that came in with Smart Alto data, that have looked at any of the RealScout seller tools. We've got 67 people now that are engaging in the seller side funnel because of the integration here. Like, that's super, super powerful, right? And again, this is not broken up by age and that kind of thing. So this is very powerful information, because again, now these are buyer leads that become seller leads. Most of them in my market are going to have to sell to buy. It's just the nature of Southern California prices that we're very fortunate to have. So crucial. Now, what Hassan was mentioning too, the other versions of these lists is using the demographic data and the NAR data that we talked about earlier about age groups. I don't know if we talked about this yet, Hassan, is the age groups in when they move based on how long they've been in their house. So for example, if I come in here to Gen X, I've got 57 people enriched by Smart Alto that we know this demographic group, according to NAR, are going to sell after they lived in their house at least 2 years. They are between the ages of 42 and 58. So they're essentially 43 to 57. That's the age group there. Good phone number, and they own their house. So that's a pretty high intent list that we've got with this data here. Same thing on the senior downsizer list. What I've done on mine, hope I've saved it, is I'm using square footage, because in my market, our tax assessor's office, the stories is grossly underutilized. So where I'm at in Orange County, 1,800 square feet is right around where most single stories stop. We don't have gigantic single stories too often here. So again, now we know, according to the NAR statistics from 2023, that people that have 2-story houses that have been in their house 8 years or longer and are older than 57 years old, those are the people that have a highest propensity of selling and buying and or moving in general. So again, we're taking all of these leads that we have and basically contextualizing them into higher intent people. Now, You're not going to call them and say, hey, Pedro, I know you're 64 years old and I know your house is 2,000 square feet. You ready to move finally or what? Like, you're never going to say that. But you know how to, again, ask pointed questions to get him to answer them the way that you want. And that way you're kind of leading him, obviously, to the finish line there.
And so part of the real power of that, to double tap on it, is when you combine the data, the behavioral data that's coming from what people are doing on your website, the home value alert emails that they're opening, the market activity alerts that they're using, and combining that with the demographic data and the property data to find active buyers who have homes to sell in your market. And so the more layers that you put on it, right, the more narrow that list gets and the more powerful it becomes. Because if you're going to use a focus list, a smart list, the whole purpose of the smart list is to find people that you can focus on. And the more layers you put in that, it takes a list of 4,000 people in your database down to a list of 10. And if you're only going to call 10 people today, make sure it's those 10 people. You're only going to email 10 people. You're only going to door knock 10 people. You're only going to send postcards to 10 people. Make sure it's those 10 people with the highest level of intent. And that's why combining that behavioral data from RealScout and the property and demographic data from Smart Alto, now you get that SmartScout smart list, which if you scan that QR code, you get, and it's ultimately already set up.
Let me give you one more example before I pass it off. And I believe it might have been Kevin that was asked. We didn't talk about this, but this is not a RealScout plug, but Smart Alto plug more effectively. But we get leads all the time with an address and then nothing. No name, no phone number, no email, just an address, and they leave for whatever reason. Smart Alto can enrich them based on a property address. So what we have here is someone that came in a few weeks ago that is a partial home value lead, meaning we got their address and that was it. Smart Alto then got their name, got their phone number, got their full address, told me all these demographic information pieces, and plugged them in here. So now I have a much more complete lead here than I would have, and that's again without me doing anything. So now I can call, mail, knock, like we talked about earlier, and we'll talk about some mailing strategies too. But really good at just, again, increasing your context for your outreach.
Great. So now you're going to go directly into the use cases and the stories with Rick and Chase. And I really want you to share some of those practical examples that we're talking about, Chase. If you could go ahead and pull those up if you don't already. I can grab some and put them in the chat if you could, if you're not already. But go ahead and share your screen, Chase, again. And we'll pass it back over to Rick because I really want to hear some of these stories about specifically how you're using it, Rick.
Right.
The SmartScout.
Right. So, I'll say this. When I started in when using Smart Alto, it was, and I gave this analogy to you, Hassan, before. It was like throwing gas on a fire. I mean, anyone who's tried to start a fire, from scratch, it's, kindling and all that and getting it started. So really easy way to start a fire is throw gas on it, right? So that was a surprise to me to see how well it worked. I approach my business a little differently than the average agent because of where I come from, I guess, in the military, and just, I won't go into that, but just all the different facets of what's instilled in us in the military and how we conduct business. And as an officer that spent over a decade in special forces, one of the things that the average person doesn't know about how we conduct missions in a war zone in special forces, we rely very heavily on intel, and we rely very heavily on actual intel with verified sources. And we are not like a typical military unit will go run out the door, go, hold a piece of land and take it over and hold it. That's just not our job. We don't operate in those size elements. So it's always been very valuable or very it's been a requirement for us to have that kind of um that kind of intel where it's been vetted and we know that what we've got is solid intel, it's reliable. So I say all that because what Smart Alto has done for me is provided that. So as you just alluded to, a lot of times we'll get an address and we know someone owns a house here or there, and that's all we know. Then it's up to us to really start digging. And sometimes people don't want to give up that information, and they think it's intrusive or whatever the case may be. Well, the automation from Smart Alto has been a godsend because I've got a rather large database, and it's gone out and just through the AI found this information and like you explained, real time dumped it into my system, and now I've got on everybody's profile if they're a homeowner and what they own and everything that Hassan's described. It just happens. So that's really been beneficial to me on a number with a number of different types of prospecting clients. So I'll give you some examples here. One particular lady that has started looking to upsize her home locally. We got into a conversation, and she was alluding to the fact she had a home. She really didn't want to give up, the address, and she's like, "I'm local, and I'm really here's what I've got." And I went on to, obviously once I got her first and last name, you go and just search and see where she's at, and you get the tax roll on it. But what Smart Alto did was give me all the other information that you won't find in the tax roll. So I know where her mortgage is and what she's got for, what she's built up and wealth in that home. And now the conversation that I've been able to have with her is, okay, this is what you're looking to upgrade. Is this, I've got some information here. Are you looking at, approximately this kind of a, appreciation in your home? What does that look like? And it's been on the money, accurate. Every conversation I had, and this particular, woman has really helped me with her have that more strategic conversation with details that I can come to the table with as a professional to show her like, hey, I've done my homework. And to be quite honest, some of the level of intel Smart Altos provided for me is a head scratcher. It's just like wow, the wow factor right off the bat was pretty substantial. So right off the bat, I knew that I was going to be able to drive a bunch of different conversations with this, and I shared that with Hassan at our initial meeting. It's proven to be fact. So now we're in the process with this particular lady visiting some homes in the next couple of weeks because she's identified some homes in the area to upgrade, and it's going to be a double take for me. So I'm eventually going to list her place and put her in a new place. So that's there's huge value there, and that's just one example. I had another conversation with a gentleman out of New York, and I do a lot of online marketing. A lot of what I've business I've done here in South Florida comes from out of town clients. So this particular individual is a CPA in New York and is very, very much up on the market, knows the market, is very smart with real estate. So he's one of those prospects where you talk to and you got to really be on your A game, because if you don't know what you're talking about with the market, he almost can call you out on it. So we've been in discussion with him finding his retirement home down here, and Smart Alto pulled his info and dropped the home valuation on him. I know he's been seeing it. So I've had an opportunity to talk to him about that and say, hey, look, you've got all this, built up in your home as far as what it's appreciated to. So what are you looking at eventually doing? I've got some partners up there that can help with the listing, and that's just uncovered a lot of information for me on how to handle it, because apparently he doesn't need to sell. He's going to buy cash. So he's on the fence of whether he's going to sell this place in New York or not. So that's again a two-sided for me, a two-sided deal. So I have the opportunity now, if he does decide in New York, I can connect with one of my associates that's local to him, and obviously take a referral commission on that, and then put him in place down here. So with an individual like that, who is a professional that really knows the market, who's super informed, and is somebody who you really need to come to your A game, Smart Altos provided that intel for me to approach such a person and really come across as a well-informed agent. So, you know, that's just another example with, you know, another kind of out of town client. I will say this, the tech stack with RealScout Smart Alto and Follow Boss is just phenomenal. And you know, I can't say enough on it and how it's recently helped me close a rather large a deal here in a waterfront home in Fort Lauderdale at 5.2 million. And I only wanted to bring RealScout into it because just the interface is so welcoming and so familiar for what a lot of people encounter on Zillow and Realtor.com and Homes.com. And I'm sure just like the average agent, you've had plenty of clients that will find something on Zillow, send you a screenshot and say, well, what about this place? And, you know, for me, prior to employing RealScout with Smart Alto, I had a real solid, a really, really nice website built out that was professionally done and had all, you know, IDS connection and all that. And you almost want to smack your head against the wall because you're spending all this money to have them come to your site and they're still going to Zillow. Well, this particular client and more clients are staying within RealScout because the interface is so welcoming and so familiar to those other sites. And this particular gentleman closed and never, not once did he ever rely on an outside site to look at properties, to search for properties. It was always through RealScout. So that was a huge plus, and I'm seeing that more and more now. The beauty of this particular client of mine is he's a high net worth individual, has been in a specific high yield business for many years. He's retired now, and he just built a massive mountainside home in Arizona. We got to talking more and more about it. And, you know, he's a very private individual and doesn't really like to give out a lot of information that's unnecessary. So I didn't really, you know, probe on, I was really interested in seeing, you know, where the home was and potentially down the road, you know, when he decides he's ready to move on from it, possibly help him there as well. Well, couldn't find it anywhere. And I was searching all the tax rolls, the tax rolls in all the counties out there that in the area that I knew he lived, it didn't come up anywhere. And wouldn't you know, Smart Alto grabbed it. And it showed up one day. And the only reason I know it grabbed it is that it showed up one day as him checking the home valuation alert. And I got an alert that it was sent out and he checked it. And the home that he built is valued up to about $26 million. So that for me is just a phenomenal opportunity in the future to develop this, you know, an even deeper relationship with him. And if he decides to move on from it, I already know where it's at. He knows that I'm providing this value and this automated home valuation to him on the monthly. A guy like him is very much into his finances and seeing where they are and seeing how they're moving on in the positive. So for something like that, I mean, clearly anybody here who's watching this, if you had an opportunity for, you know, a $26 million listing in, you know, in another part of, you know, the part of the country, for me anyway, it would make sense to fly out, you know, take the state exam, get licensed, fly out there, hang my license with somebody and partner up with someone on that listing. It would just be that kind of phenomenal listing. But wouldn't have that opportunity, wouldn't even be talking that without Smart Alto. Wouldn't be able to provide that valuable information to a guy who's worth north of $100 million. And you know, guys like that are much more in tune with agents and people that work for them that really know their business, that can provide that value. So he's seen that. He's seen that with the stack I bring, you know, to the table with delivering his home valuation, finding that home. And there's been no discussion, no time did he ever ask me like, hey, how's, you know, how did you get this? And it just showed up on his computer one day as, hey, here's your home valuation. And he's checking, and he's been checking it. So really
Rick, you bring up a great point. I don't mean to interrupt you, but you bring up a great point about the home valuation and how people like to see their value. Like, I own a home. I love those estimate emails. I open those more than any probably emails from my husband. But maybe we can kind of show how you can leverage what those actually look like. Chase, did you
Sure.
have that so people can maybe get a visual of it
Yep.
too? Like
Let
we keep
me,
bouncing back around. So
I ended up pulling up pulling up an example. I didn't get the actual screen up though. Hang on one second. I'll get it right now.
And I'll say this, if I jump in for a second,
Go for
when
it.
those valuations go out on a particular day, they do typically first. My inbox, my email is just inundated with this, just a list of people that have checked, they're looking at their home valuation alert. And I have to erase more emails than I read on those days because people just like you said, people are super interested in that, and they like to see where their home is performing. And it's something of value to them.
Yeah, so there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot going on here. If you've not seen the RealScout Home Value Alert, it's pretty powerful. So, I mean, right off the top, now I did put this in here myself as a test. So if you put in a valuation manually, it will date it, so you're not tied to it. I would put a range. I wouldn't put a number as an agent personally. That's a strategy, I guess. But every call to action on this page is geared to get them to talk to you. That was my biggest, I don't want to say complaint, but biggest qualm with some other ones is just calls to action everywhere for 54 different things. And very few of them were, hey, talk to the expert, click here to talk to your agent. So the whole thing is full of these. Now, what's really powerful here is you have two different valuations. Number one, and I'll quote Andrew on this, it creates price confusion versus just an answer, right? So secondly, at first, I'll be brutally honest, at first, I didn't like Zillow. I don't know about that. But the consumer goes there. The consumer trusts it. They're going to go there anyways. So why the heck not keep them in our ecosystem and show it to them? So love the two here. Now, this is really, really important. This piece here will change colors and change verbiage depending on how far apart these two numbers are. And this is where it gets really powerful. Because if these numbers are within, I believe it's 10%. If they're 10% or closer, the box is blue and it will say something to the effect of, these valuations are still automated. It's a good idea to consult your agent for a more appropriate valuation. Click here. Now, hit on this one, since we're larger than, well, my math is off, whatever, about 10%, since it's larger, the box turns bright orange or bright yellow and says, hey, there's a large discrepancy between these two valuations. Consult your agent by clicking here to get a more accurate number. The whole thing is geared to get the phone to ring, not to have them just look at it and ignore it. There's a chat window that looks out on the right-hand side on desktop, usually when they open it, that feels very normal for the consumers' sites these days. It talks about buyer pools, how many buyers are available at different price points, part of RealScout's back-end engine there. It gives them a map of recent listings, how many listings, and you can set this on your global settings for RealScout or on the per client basis. You can change kind of what they're going to see, which is done right here, neighborhood area. And then of course tiles, and it's all log and follow bus. So super, super powerful. And what I noticed when we sent these out, and I'll give the story. When we first tried this came out, I believe in beta, it was April of last year, a little over a year ago. And I got wind of it and I'm like, oh, great. One more thing we need is another home valuation tool. We have 15 different ones already. And I was like, what the heck, I'll try it. So I brought in, not the whole database. I brought in several hundred to try. It was unbelievable. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was something like 54% open rate, 38% click-through rate. We had 10 CMA requests in the first 3 days and 2 listing presentations. And I'm not making any of that up. It was unbelievable. Now, those numbers have tapered a bit because people have been getting them over and over, but it was unbelievable and made me instantly cancel that one, bring everybody in, and it's been just an engine over and over and over. Yeah, really, really powerful.
Yeah, and I'll second that with, I've used other tools before in the past that send out home valuations and things you can follow the clickable rates and all that, and none of them compared to this tool. And again, it's generated conversation with me as well, and the number of CMA requests I've had, I've just lost count. But the amount of information it gives them right there is just the value there is huge, and it just is evident in the number of emails I get with everyone opening them every month like clockwork.
Well, then you guys both lead teams too. So how do you coach your team then? Like when that when someone does raise their hand, like what's that next conversion point then? What's worked for you guys? Because I think getting the data and having RealScout, you know, prioritize these opportunities for people are great. But like Cindy was saying, I think in the chat, she
Yeah, I
was
saw
talking
that.
about how she has buyer leads. They're not expecting to be contacted about selling their home. So how do you bridge that gap with people so that you can convert them into a listing?
So I'll go first quickly, and I'll let Rick take it on too. I mean, first of all, and I struggle with this in different capacities, but you got to get past the limiting mindset because you're going to get stuck. That's the first thing. And I'm no expert at it, but I'm just saying that's what I'm working on too on some other things too. But secondly, it's not that you're going to call them, and I don't like this. I'm not super aggressive in this capacity, so I'm not calling them and saying, hey, you know, Rick, you called on, you know, a listing of ours over on Main Street, but I noticed you have a house to sell. Are you thinking about selling it? That's not the phone call. But we know the data. We know they own a house. We know it's worth X, and we know they owned it for 6 years. So we also know that they probably are considering selling it if they are going to, in fact, move. So it's either fuel for that 7th phone call versus just the 6th. It's fuel to make the 11th phone call, not the 10th, right? Make that one extra one, and then ask that one extra question to lead down that path. You know, hey, Rick, you know, thanks for reaching out, yada, yada, yada. Real quick question for you. Do you have a house to sell in order to qualify for your next purchase? Oh, no. Okay, got it. You carry on. Hit him again. Hey, Rick, is there anywhere you're going to be pulling equity from to qualify for your next purchase? Oh, actually, yeah, I'm going to have to get X, Y, and Z. Oh, okay, got it. Where do you live right now? It's again, you know the answer, but you got to get them to say it. And I guess that's my overall thought there. And again, it's more motivation because you know these people are higher net worth buyers, whether or not they're going to sell. Not all of them are going to. And hey, my thought there is, hey, if renting makes more sense, keep the house. Obviously, long-term wealth is you know, earned by maintaining property, not selling property. So, Rick?
Yeah, I've been using a very similar approach. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was going to say, Chase, you also have some handwritten notes, right? That after
Oh, yeah.
ones you send, could you show those too?
Oh, sure. I do have those pulled up.
Yes.
This is, I think, in that doc that Hassan sent out. This is funny. This is not rocket science. This is like super old school, super basic sales skills. So we know their address, right? So I've got 2 different ones here. And again, this is not rocket science, but the only thing, in my opinion, that we can prove with 100% accuracy and with 100% open rate is a handwritten greeting card. Not a handwritten letter in a trifold. That's good. This is better. Not an email. Hassan's got a fantastic email and they get 100% open. So, right? So I've got 2 different versions. One is you've talked to them, and 2 is you've tried to, but you've not gotten a hold of them. And the letter literally is, hey, Rick, hope all's well. Been trying to reach you regarding your real estate plans for 2024 and beyond. Give me a call or text when you can. Love to chat for a no obligation, you know, chit chat, be an honor to serve you. Right? And then if you talk to them, contextualize it with whatever you talked about, but a basic one again. Hey, Rick, been great talking with you over the past few weeks about your real estate plans. Excited to serve you in the coming months with your new goals. Here to help with it whenever the time is right, or whatever that might be. But the first one is, and again, the odds of you getting a call from someone saying, oh, how'd you find out where I lived? Super, super small. Secondly, if you do, I'm in real estate, Rick. I mean, I'm just doing the best job that I can to serve as many families as I'm able to. Right? I mean,
and Chase, what's your pro tip about these handwritten notes too?
Pro tip.
What did you go by recently?
Oh, pro tip. If you're going to do this, go buy as many stamps as your credit card limit will allow, because they're going up 5 cents in 3 weeks. That's a huge, by the way, that's like a 6% increase in price. It's nuts. 68 to 73 cents. I just bought 400 stamps. I've got 200 sitting here in front of me in the office. Go buy more. If you bought more already, go buy more again.
But that's just the reason I kept pushing on that, because that's so practical. It's also so human. we get stuck in this technology is the answer for everything. Sometimes the best technology is a pen and paper that you can use in order to build a real human connection. And so you're going to, those two handwritten letters that we just talked about, you have those. If you scan that QR code, the text is there. Literally swipe and deploy and just use it, steal it, because it's working now. So you can just use it. Go ahead, Rick. I'm sorry.
No, so I was going to just piggyback on what Chase was saying, and that our approach is pretty similar as well. But there are times that I'll look and see what the history is of what they've been looking at. If I've had a conversation with them already, they may be looking for just a getaway home or something like that. And just with where property where the values have improved down here in South Florida, it's become more and more common. I'm finding more and more homeowners that have $1 million plus in equity in their home. And sometimes they're looking for just maybe to get something for their retiring mother or something like that, or just looking for something, a getaway place, on the water. And the conversation is easy, just as Chase said, once you get them to talk a little bit more, then you can start talking about, well, are we looking at financing? You've got some equity there to pull out for this purchase. And more than once I've had a conversation where Smart Alto pretty much with a quick calculation, you can determine what kind of equity they've got built up there. And more than once, I've kind of had that conversation. Well, I think you've got about, this many $100,000 of equity, and more than once, oh, I've got more than that now. And it just opens up that you're tracking, you're providing, a professional resource there, and you're informed, and you've already got, what the valuation is on their home. But it just extends the conversation into a deeper conversation with more details, and it allows you to have a more tailored conversation to that person as an individual versus just a generalized conversation. So now we're talking X's and O's with that person, and they appreciate that because it comes across as a tailored approach for them as a unique person versus just a sales pitch.
Let me give two quick thoughts too. Rick talked about this earlier about on the RealScout side of things. One of the things we've always talked to sellers about how to make our listing stand out is to create what we call stickiness. And this is probably a commonly used term, right? But I mean, trying to get a prospective buyer to look at our listing for longer on Zillow or whatever site they're looking on. What Rick was saying earlier is true in my case too, in that as soon as a lead comes in, and it could be super green, super top funnel, renting, whatever it is, as soon as they get into RealScout that first time, they will come back over and over and over. So I even have a task on my agent's action plans for 2 weeks after the lead comes in. Check activity, look for clues, and if they've not logged into RealScout, that's your next dialogue, because they have got to get in. Because once they do, they're there and they're stuck, because it is that good. And that's the first thing. The second thing, I probably shouldn't mention this because it's a little more advanced, but if anyone wants to talk about this later, I can show you a walkthrough to take these letters to like the next stratosphere. A little more work, but I have a way that you can, if you have time, and this is for someone that maybe has fewer leads and more time, right? But creating a unique video for every single person that gets and I'm not using AI for this. This is a manual video per person. Hey, Alice, hope all's well. Love to connect about your real estate plans, yada, yada. All you need is Loom, Jump Share, Drive, Dropbox, whatever. You need one of the Dymo thermal printers, right? They're like $800, something like that. And you can rifle through customized labels with a customized QR code for every single person that gets it. And then the secret would be if they scan the QR code to watch the video, you know about it. So that's the next level. So email me or hit me up on Instagram or whatever. I can share that walkthrough. But that's a pretty powerful way, because then you can really see, again, it was open. They saw it. They didn't call me, but guess what I'm going to do now? Send them another one. We'll knock on the door. One more layer of content or context to fuel your outreach.
Sure. And one final thing to kind of double tap on that. One of the things about the SmartScout Smart List is that if you start with a large list, you can always take the behavioral data and use it as a lever. So you want to find people. I remember when when Rick and I were doing this a couple of months ago, he had like 70,000 people in his database. And we said, okay, how many people have visited your RealScout website in the last 180 days? And it was like 69,000. So we're like, we kept narrowing it down. How many people have visited in the last 15 days? And it was like a couple hundred. And so how many people visited in the last 3 days? And it was like, 45. So we tried to get down to a list that was manageable, because now those people have a pulse, they are active, that they have homes to sell. You sort that list by the property value. So if you're going to only call 3 people, call the people with the property that's worth the most, right? That have the signals that let you know these people could be ready to sell. They are 62 years old. They live in a $3 million home. They've owned it for nearly a decade. It's 3,700 square feet and it's 2 stories. They were on the website this morning. Call those people. Those are the people you send the video to, Chase was just talking about. Those are the people you send the handwritten note to. So you can always take your list and use that behavioral data that comes from RealScout to narrow it down, because Smart Alto's property and demographic data isn't going to change often. What is going to change is that behavioral data that's being piped in from RealScout.
100%. And I can I'll back you up on this. On any given day, it's through on my RealScout views, because we can see in the back office, how many homes been viewed, how many emails been opened, and like clockwork, by lunchtime every day, I've got right around 300 homes have been viewed. Homes, not emails open, homes have been viewed. And then by the close of business every day, that number is anywhere, depending on, just some days, bigger than others, but anywhere from right around 500 to right around 1,000 homes viewed a day, not emails opened, homes viewed a day. So people like the interface, they gravitate towards it. It's familiar to them. And then everything driving in the background is, like I said before, it's just throwing gas on a fire, because you've got that pretty interface that people just love, but then you've got Smart Alto working in the background. And when they come on, if they've got a home, it's going to find it. Like I said, with that gentleman, that client of mine, he is ultra protective of his financial stuff because of his net worth and what he's grown over the years. And the fact that your system found Hassan, I was like, wow. And I had to go look at a house, and it was like I said to you, I said it was something like Michael Jordan would live in. It was just massive, but it's just a nod to what your system does, and how once you have that data, it just goes out and finds it. And when I saw that, I was just like, wow. I mean, I was already blown away, which is why I came on board with you. But when I saw that, I was like, wow, if you can find this guy's house, then yeah, there's almost nothing out there they won't find.
Yep. And final thing before we go, that was a fantastic story. You always tell the best stories, man. Final thing before we go. If you are a RealScout customer, there's a link in the chat. You can click that link and book a call directly with me if you're interested about Smart Alto. And we're going to find your first 25 buyers with a home to sell absolutely free, right? That's ultimately a $500 value that you're going to get. And that when you scan that QR code, it took you to a spreadsheet. One of the links in there, I'll deliver on the promise. You can just click on that link, or click on the link that we just put in the chat. You can book a call with me, and we'll be happy to get you set up and find those 25 buyers with a home to sell in your database. Okay. Perfect.
And I'm going to be sending out the recording too. So thank you to everyone. Thank you guys for this great conversation. There's so much information, and we can hang out and we can answer any other questions, but I just want to let everybody know the recording will be sent out, because Hassan went into a different gear when those slides came out, and it was fast. There was a lot of information. So I'll send out the recording, and I don't want anybody to miss anything, but we have a lot of questions coming in the chat, so maybe we should answer some of those.
I think Hassan has the record for the most slides in his presentations.
My ADHD brain loves that.
It was smooth
I
though. I
want
was impressed.
everyone
It was
to do
smooth.
that.
Boom, 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 boom.
Okay, so a lot of people are having questions about the cost. The Canva presentation, I'll post that link again. It's in the spreadsheet that we're sharing, so you can just click through all the assets, even some we didn't even get to talk about. There's a couple email campaigns that we put together. So there's a lot of good stuff in there for you guys to use. And let's see. Hassan, do you want to talk about pricing? You want people to just talk to you?
Yeah, book a call with me, but pricing is also on the website. It starts as low as $50 a month. So it just kind of depends on how many properties they'll end up having in Smart Alto, but pricing's on the website. But then when you book a call with me, we'll get you squared away.
And RealScout too, our solo agent offering RealScout Pro Plus, which just became available for agents. That is $99 a month. You get 100 nurtured contacts with that, and you can buy bundles of additional contacts if you need it. Our team and brokerage offering, that's a little bit different. We have tools for teams and brokerages to help you manage lead pools and all that good stuff. That starts at $249 a month and goes from there. So I will post the link again to reach out to our team if you have questions on the team brokerage solo agents. You can just go right to ours, the link, and sign up directly as well. Chase, there's a question about the follow-up boss integration.
Yep, I didn't see that. Go ahead.
Do you want to talk how people link that up?
Oh, sure. Oh, super, super easy. Literally copy the API key. Well, let me show you. Yeah. So, okay, I'm getting my content too here. Hey, as I'm pulling this up, I will show you. I was gonna show an example here, not not a $30 million property, but open house lead from back in May. Got their phone number, didn't have anything else, and was able to grab their home address and all the details from Smart Alto. RealScout hit them up. They were looking at their home value alert every single month for the past 3 months. Called me 2 weeks ago, and now we're under buyer broker looking at properties, showing them tonight at 4 o'clock another property. So it does work. To answer the question on hand, you come in here, you create a new API key. I'm not going to do it because don't need to. You create one, you copy it, you go to Smart Alto and you paste it, and that's it. That is literally it.
Rest just happens. It just happens, which
It's true.
Yeah.
So sorry. It's like 4 clicks, one time.
right.
Details. All right, I think and SmartScout, that was Hassan and Andrew and I and Chase on a call, and we thought we were smart. So that is just our nickname for when Smart Alto and RealScout are combined and used together. It's really hard to say SmartScout SmartList really fast, so it's just a nickname.
If it was on one of Hassan's slides, he would have read that so fast, though.
He did.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I've been
honest,
a lot of that too. A lot of SmartScout, SmartList for people.
Yeah. The one thing, I mean, for people that are still here, they're obviously vested now. The one thing Hassan didn't mention that is, and I know Rick broached on it briefly, but the one thing that's really, really powerful is that Smart Alto can also find sellers and details under trusts and LLCs and corporations where no skip tracer that I've seen can do that. So you now have, again, a few reasons for that, but the data is so good and it's not that expensive. I know someone was asking earlier, but it is not expensive for what you get out of it. Not expensive at all.
And that's exactly that big property that it found that my client has out in Arizona side of the mountain. he's got numerous corporations and things. I mean, anybody with that kind of net worth does that, and it's a smart thing to do to protect yourself, right? So it found it. I mean, it definitely wasn't under his name, and when it showed up, that's why I was just like, well, you know, I don't even know why I questioned it. I knew it had to give some time for the AI to run its thing, and sure enough, and yeah, he's checking that like clockwork every time it opens. So
That's awesome.
huge plus, huge plus.
You just got your luxury listing certification, didn't you?
Yeah, I did the certified luxury home marketing specialist. I did the Gill. I just did the Gill Elite. So it's their, you know, which was, you know, for me, for me, I just like to educate myself, and you know, a lot of people go for like a lot of letters behind their name, and which marketing purposes it's great, but for me, as somebody who is always about educating himself, that's where the gold is for me, because it just enables me to bring more to the table. And obviously when someone does something, that it tells, you know, the average person like, okay, this guy's done a little extra. So, you know, I'm in the process of actually finishing my CRS certification as well. So yeah, you know, there's just like in the military, there's always a school to go to. You know, once you become an officer in the military, it's like that's not it. You're not done there. There's always another school. There's always another specialty. You know, so it's just something I'm you know, acclimated to.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we got any other questions? Or we good?
I think we're good.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone. It was I'm like tickled pink to spend a couple of moments with you and kind of hang out, share some value. Hopefully you thought it was extremely valuable. Please use those assets, those marketing assets that we shared with you, because those things work. They're proven. They're already in the market, and they're free to you, but they cost a lot to develop, right? So it does not go without saying thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it, and we'll chat with you soon.
See you guys.
Bye.
Everyone.